Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to a video where I'm going to talk to you guys about my experience in Hungary, but especially my experience arm wrestling with the Europeans or so-called Hungarians. I was fortunate enough to have an awesome trip to Hungary, and the fact that I was able to arm wrestle with a club there, in fact, the most, high-level club or the most famous club. So in this video, I'm going to break it down to you and just talk about my thoughts, my experience, what I've learned, and just run through everything. And then the later half of the video, I'm just talk about Hungary in general, give you guys my experience overall with just visiting the country and just the overall experience. And I'm not liking the way this lens looks. Yeah, I think we're fine. This lens just looks like there's moisture on it. Anyways, I'm also using a shotgun mic on this. I am not using my, I'm gonna show you right now. Oh, they're right here. I'm not using my original Rode mic. So this one, I believe, gives much better audio quality, considering right now I'm sitting in a studio/bedroom office. And the audio is not the greatest, which is gonna be fixed in the mid to near future. So the door is closed, I have the window open here, and I'm trying to get the audio better. So if the audio is actually really bad, just seriously let me know. I usually film with this, and I can stay there. Anyways, let's just get right into the video because I am rambling on. But I will give you guys a quick backstory to arriving at the Arm Wrestling Club, and then I'll just talk about it overall. So first time visiting Hungary, and before I went to this country on vacation with my girlfriend who is from Hungary, I had contacted an arm wrestling club that is literally just right out of Budapest, and Budapest is the capital of Hungary for those who don't know. I had contacted the arm wrestling club and had gotten a hold of them pretty quick and easy. There was not really any language barrier. So for those who do know, Hungary is one of the world's most difficult languages. So the fact that I was able to actually speak to people in English, it's a good thing. Contacted them, got some information on just days they practice, how many people train at the club, just getting some overall generic information, and letting them know that I was pulling up to the country about 6 months in advance. So I got a hold of these guys way before I even had showed up. Well, 6 months had passed up until Nationals this year, and as I got closer to the vacation, I started to contact them through Instagram, which is where I was able to speak with them, which I'm going to link their Instagram down below if ever you guys are in Europe. If you guys are ever near Hungary or Budapest, just send them a DM. Anyways, but as we got closer to me visiting, or actually, you know what? I was actually visiting Hungary at the time, recently. I was there for 3 weeks, and 2 weeks in I had messaged them and I was not getting any answers. So I started to freak out because on my YouTube channel I had been talking to you guys about arm wrestling with these folks for X amount of time, and then all of a sudden I cannot get a hold of anyone. I think I contacted 4 or 5 people from the club, no answer. In fact, some of them had saw my messages and I wasn't getting anything. Finally, last minute, I get an answer, time, location, date. So I was stoked. So my vacation was essentially divided into 3 parts. The first part, we went to Lake Balaton. I've already explained this in a previous video, but just to give you guys just a quick timeline. The first week, Lake Balaton, beautiful remote location, the most famous lake in Europe, extremely big, was there. Then we went to my girlfriend's hometown, Szentes, which is about an hour away, it doesn't really matter, but an hour away. So we spent a week there with her family, and then the last week we went to Budapest and had the overall city experience of the European vibe. Well, the 2 weeks had passed, and then I had contacted the club, and that's when I ran into the issue. So the timeline was so narrow coming in towards the end of the vacation. And even though the vacation was almost over, I had talked about going to do this for so long, and I just really wanted it to happen. So first of all, it's extremely hot in Hungary. When I was there, it was on average about 38 to 42 degrees Celsius. Wild stuff. So when I had showed up to the arm wrestling club, I'm led to like a set of stairs down in a basement, and I'm just thinking like we're in North America, it's gonna be some type of vibe or look to here, but as you guys probably know, in Europe, the housing is extremely different. So we show up to this club and immediately I go downstairs and it instantly, the first thing I could think of is a freaking dungeon. I mean, you guys have seen on the previous videos what it kind of looks like, but it was like a long corridor basement, just rocks, like super cool. But the fact that it was already 40 degrees outside, you cannot imagine the amount of moisture and heat it is downstairs in maybe a 20 by 40 foot basement. So freaking hot and damp. And I remember just going down below. I don't know if it was mentioned in any of my practice videos that I'd posted, but instantly, my lens had started to fog up. And I was like, I don't even know if I can film in here. It's so damp and moist and hot. So yeah, that kind of happened. And of course, meet and greet with all the fellas. Extremely nice people. Super cool. And I was just excited to get on the table. There are a couple folks on that club. One of them is a current, I don't know his name, they're Hungarian names, so I do apologize. I can't name it on the video, but you guys can most likely find it in a high-end European Championship video. But one of the guys that arm wrestled throughout the practice, he was #1 in Europe Masters. #1 Europe Masters right hand. I think he was in his late 40s or 50s, but regardless, crazy. The guy trained with Marcio Barboza for almost, I think, 12 years. He lived in Jersey, trained with him there, and then moved to Hungary. Another guy I trained with, don't know the names. I do apologize for those who I pulled with who are probably watching this video. He, I believe, I might get this wrong, but I think he's #1 in Hungary at 90 kilograms. And then there was another guy I trained with as well, who I think was like top 3 or something like that at the 120 kilogram or 110 kilogram class. So extremely strong people I was able to arm wrestle with. Extremely strong. How did I do? Well, if you guys watch the practice footage, you could probably get a good idea of how it went down. It's extremely different. I would like to think I did okay. I mean, like any other arm wrestling club, you always end up getting your higher end athletes, and then you get the amateurs, and then the people who are kind of somewhat floating in the middle, just figuring their way up the ladder. But just an overall cool experience. And one thing that I've realized, there's a couple things. So one of them, as you could tell, probably in North America, here we have more the. I'm not quoting all of North America. Because it's extremely different from club to club. So, disclaimer: what I'm about to say doesn't actually correlate to every single club. But I'm going to give you guys a broad perspective of just the mentality behind maybe the Europeans versus North Americans, or let's just say Canadians, because I haven't trained so much in the States. But I am going to look at maybe. No, I don't want to pull out a club. I don't want to single out a club. The North Americans are more, we're going to talk arm wrestling club style, don't care as much. Well, we all care, but it's more loosey-goosey. A lot of drinking alcohol, a lot of people smoking, out and about, just wild, very redneck vibe. It's the problem with even saying this is it depends club to club, because I've had so many different experiences, some way more professional than others. But then if you compare the European vibe, which yes, I'm only comparing one club, but I was already expecting this exact way of training before I even showed up, because I've seen so many clubs through Italy, Georgia, Hungary, but just so many European clubs, and these guys are training in harsh environments, nothing where it's so hard on your body. And I'm just talking like this place I went to, this isn't some really nice air-conditioned premium space. It's not in a garage. This is like legitimately underground stuff. Pretty cool in my opinion. But what I'm getting to is the North Americans, we tend to be so loosey-goosey. It's very all over the place. I don't know if we train so specifically, but then you get the Europeans, in this case Hungarians, and they are training mostly not so much on like cables and gym equipment. These guys are more just arm wrestling overall in harder environments. I mean, when you are arm wrestling underground, quote unquote, it's a very broad term, but just for this case alone, when you are arm wrestling underground at 42 degrees, literally 20 minutes in, watch the video footage, every couple minutes I'm doing this, I'm just sweating because it's so hot, my heart rate is elevated, and these guys train mostly, from my understanding, if you Hungarians are watching, shoot the comments down below, but from my understanding, what I picked up at this club is a lot of them train strictly arm wrestling specific. I'm talking table time, arm wrestling practice, tournaments, like that is what they do. Here, we're more focused, it seems to be, on gym equipment, strict gym numbers, and obviously lots of table time. I mean, North America has some of the best arm wrestlers in the world, just like Europe. But it seems like the mentality is a little bit different. These guys, there's no perfect environment. They are just put into just like some cave-like, I don't know how to explain it. And I feel like I'm also pointing out two very specific clubs and then just comparing them and then just saying Europe versus North America. I know it's not like that, but the vibe I'm getting is the people in Europe train more specifically to the table. They're training more angles. They're training more arm wrestling table time versus the North Americans, where it's, yes, you get the somewhat of the same thing, but you're also getting big gym numbers. I know that's probably a little broad and it probably led nowhere in this video, but the experience was extremely unique. After the tournament, after the practice was over, I was just speaking with some of the guys, and one of the areas that I had the most trouble with was my elbow connectivity in here, some side pressure, but it was just a specific angle. Literally a specific angle, like of internal rotation, and they put it out there like, you have the strength, you have the drag, you have the hand, but you don't have this. I'm not talking strict side pressure, I'm talking like a specific angle that I worked on with them that I kept losing from that position. And they were just saying like, you need to practice this specific, sorry, there's a freaking Acura NSX outside, it's sick. But yeah, they were just saying like, you need to train specifically this exact angle and work on this movement, and it will make you so much better. And then the guys are pointing out, and I've been told this too here at my own arm wrestling club, as you all know, or at least that I've mentioned to those who watch my videos or those who have seen me, I am mainly a top roller. I don't hook. I mean, I do, but it's not my main way of arm wrestling. And they brought it up to me again. They were like, dude, you would be an extremely good inside puller. Your hand is strong, you have a good forearm, your leverage, but it's the inside, and I don't work my inside. So I'm not gonna spill any beans and say exactly what I'm gonna be training moving forward. But if there was one thing I could take away from this practice, if there was one thing, it was that they were able to point out a specific angle on the table and then say, this is your exact weakness, I can feel it, and if you could fix this, you'd be so much better, even though they were saying from their point of view, I have an extremely good foundation. And the way they were able to tell me that was through table time and experience. And one of the guys that I arm wrestled with at the club, I asked him like, how are you so strong? I'm like, you're so connected, your hand, your back pressure, your side, like everything was so good. And he goes, I just arm wrestle. I don't work out. I don't do gym lifts. I literally hit the table and I arm wrestle as hard as I can. And he said, you need good training partners. He goes, you need to be training with people who are much stronger than you, which I think is obvious to everyone. But when I look at someone who is telling me this from a different place, a different culture, different background, different way of training, and I put all this together, I'm not someone who trains with too many people. I'm not someone who trains a lot of side pressure and or the angles. I train mostly hand, back pressure, a little bit of side, a little bit of inner. So I could have obviously learned this here, and I'm not saying that I've learned something there that I would have never learned here. I think the knowledge is everywhere, and I might have been at the right place at the right time. But just having this experience in a different country, arm wrestling with a different club, and for them to just point this out pretty freaking quick, tell me what's good and what's wrong, and then to find out that some of these guys don't work out at all. They strictly hit table time once or twice a week. It's super cool to hear, it's super cool to see, and I am going back next year. I don't know the exact date, but I think I'm going April, May, June, maybe July, but I think it's April, May, or June. So I'm gonna take a lot of what I learned in Hungary and apply it now, at least moving forward with maybe a little bit of a different training plan, and then show up next year and hopefully just show some signs of improvement. But it was wild. Like, I show up at this club and it's like 42 degrees outside in the middle of Budapest, midsummer. I'm showing up, I have one water bottle with me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna end up getting thirsty. I'll get a bottle later if needed. And as I walk down in this basement, it's like 50 degrees, hot. One of the guys had his shirt off. I would take my shirt off too, but I don't know. Maybe not my place to do that. And everyone is just sweating, everyone's grinding, everyone's laughing. I mean, that's what it's all about in my opinion. And it's extremely interesting to see in the arm wrestling world when you have places that are so professional, so clean, so modern, people working on specific movements in a gym. We can use like a Voice of Arm Wrestling. You see these guys, I mean, many people do this, including myself, but I'm just using them as a figure, as you guys have all seen their channel. But you'll see like certain people doing legit, just straight specifics. You can look at the larets, multi-spinner, just slight angles, and just in their house. Then you see people like these guys working in like a dungeon environment at plus 50, grinding on the table, sweating, laughing. You get people like me at the gym, just thinking of the table time, doing their own thing. You get people who just practice indoors, outdoors, in facilities. The overall point I'm getting to is it's extremely interesting to see in the sport of arm wrestling the many ways people train, yet everyone is coming just from a completely different background, and just see where people are good and where people are struggling just based off environments, ways of training. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you guys can understand what I'm trying to get to, but it's extremely interesting to me. And after having this experience in a completely different part of the world, yeah, it's extremely motivating. It makes me want to be more disciplined. It makes me want to come back stronger, especially for nationals next year. Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked. But I guess that would be my arm wrestling rant. I think I'll just make a future video on maybe the better, yeah, I'll make a future video on the good and bad things that I've experienced in Hungary outside of arm wrestling. But after I've ranted this whole time, I think I'm going to drop it there. I'm also considering doing a video very soon, maybe analyzing some of the practice footage. So if you guys want to see that, if you have any interest in seeing that, let me know. Could be interesting. Maybe just run through a couple matches, show you guys the people that I was talking about earlier who are extremely high ranked, especially one of the guys who's like 40 or 50, ranked #1 in Europe. Yes, Europe, all of Europe, masters, who trained with Marcio Barboza for 12 years in New Jersey. I'm gonna drop it there, guys. If you guys like this type of content, like the video, consider subscribing. I'll catch you guys the next one. Till then, peace.